Good morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Lucas back there making it go. We're with you until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045. That's the number. Feel free to jump in at any point today. We got Peter Skoronski, Titans' first-round pick. He'll be on at 11:15. Titans and the Bucs. Preview that for you starting in the, what are we going to do? Noon hour today? We'll have Greg Cosell break it down for him, bud? Sounds like a plan. F&M Bank Chat, always at your disposal for all of your unhinged takes that you don't feel safe calling in with. You can do so on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, as most of you are comfortable doing. Titans back on the practice field yesterday. The headline was the, quarterback soap opera situation, I guess, a little bit. Will Levis opening for Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill heading to the bench. Ryan Tannehill's not happy about being benched, but such is life in the NFL. Now they have to play a football game. So now that that's all settled and we can all move on with our lives, the injury report is the first thing that drew my attention because we still are awaiting some kind of status update on Treylon Burks, who did not practice yesterday. Chris Hubbard was a limited participant coming back in through the concussion protocol. And a couple of other key pieces and parts that are going in and out of the lineup. What am I supposed to do with the Murphy Bunting thing? Did you see this post on his Instagram story? He is being wheeled out of a hospital, it looks like, in a sling. We know that he's got a thumb injury, and there's a quick video, a 15-second video about, I think something to do with, like, giving thanks to God or something to that effect, coming out of surgery. Mike Vrabel hasn't ruled him out by any stretch of the imagination. And with Roger McCreary coming back into the lineup, SMB probably going, what did Vrabel call him yesterday? Doubtful?
He did.
Going out?
Yeah, just said he's not practicing today. Probably doubtful for Sunday. And on that note, Nicholas Petit-Frere also has not been ruled out to any extent or placed on injured reserve.
Did not practice yesterday.
After Paul Kaharski's report that he might miss the rest of the season.
So maybe he just hadn't had the surgery yet. I guess I could text Paul. I'd probably ask him. But yeah, the NPF thing is still kind of lingering out there, and I don't know who's starting at left tackle on Sunday in Tampa Bay. I guess it's going to be Andre Dillard. What do we make of this current iteration of the Tennessee Titans? Because now we're in the halfway point of the season, and everybody's falling apart. You looked at the quarterbacks. We talked about this, that 10 rookies are going to start this coming week in the NFL, starting tonight with your boy Tyson Bagent and Bryce Young squaring off in a battle of it's a toilet bowl. That's what this Thursday night football game is. It's the equivalent of a Week 3 Titans-Jags game.
I mean, how many of those rookies have had to be thrown in due to injury? And Bryce Young, obviously the starter from the jump. Bagent, not the case. Tommy DeVito and the Giants, that's not the case.
Levis, not the case.
Not the case, yeah.
But yes, injury. We have arrived at the point of the season where the teams are falling apart. So I don't actually know how much better one team is than the other because all of your best or most important pieces at the start of the season are probably not available to you at their best version at this point in the season. So I'm looking at this Titans and Bucs matchup and saying, I don't know what the hell to do with it. They're both 3-5. I saw the Bucs score 37 points and lose the other day against the C.J. Stroud-led Houston Texans, so I don't necessarily know what's in store for a team that has as bad a passing defense as the Tennessee Titans have to this point. All I know is that Christian Fulton is playing better football. Roger McCreary is coming back, and I don't know if the Titans are getting healthier at a good time for them as they try and win a damn game on the road, but the whole thing is very confusing for me. This is why I refuse to do game picks.
Bucs passing defense was dreadful last weekend.
Well, and they have a couple of parts that, one, I think are not expected to be available to them. I'll pull up the injury report for the Bucs side of things that was given to us yesterday by Titans PR. But looking at the Bucs injury report, so Jamel Dean, one of their starting corners, is not practicing with a concussion. I think it's unlikely right now that he's available. the player that you're most interested in kind of keeping track of this week and on Sunday is Carlton Davis, who is arguably one of the best corners in the league. Now, he's on their injury report. He did not practice yesterday with a toe. I don't know the significance of the toe. I don't know if this is a DeAndre Hopkins toe where it's, hey, bud, you need a day off. What are we putting on the injury report for you today, toe? But Carlton Davis, who is one of the better corners, if not, I mean, you could make an argument for Carlton Davis as the best corner in football right now. He played an atrocious game. They all did. And I think he spoke out about it, in fact, in recent comments to Tampa Bay media about just how poor, because I think Rondé Barber went at them, I guess, as a passing defense. I don't know in what role Rondé was speaking on it, but obviously somebody who's very significant to that organization, whose words mean something when he says those things, basically talking about how bad a job the Bucs passing defense did, and particularly their secondary this past week against C.J. Stroud. Something that Cosell brought up as well with the Stroud performance is, what do you think is being under-discussed? Did you watch that game?
Yeah, I caught the tail end of Bucs and Texans.
So what'd you notice about the Texans as an offense?
Texans as an offense? Well, I noticed C.J. Stroud, 11 yards per attempt.
Sure.
I noticed Tank Dell balling out in the fourth quarter and torching Carlton Davis on multiple occasions.
So their passing game having time to get stuff off, yeah? Laramie Tunsil was great.
Yeah.
Great in this game. That is something that I don't think, and Cosell brought it up on the podcast. I went and watched it after the fact. Laramie Tunsil and the performance of him now that he's returned to the lineup from injury is a huge part of why C.J. Stroud was able to have that kind of success. I think that Tunsil was beaten on one snap that forced a fumble did force a fumble, but the Texans recovered. Beyond that, it was just like a walk in the park for Laramie Tunsil out there against a decent pass defense in terms of how they scheme up pressures and the kind of players that they got up front. They got some dudes that can get after the passer, and they have Vita Vea, who's just a grizzly bear in the middle of their defense. Good luck, Aaron Brewer. So, still, I assume that the Bucs secondary is going to have a better performance than they did last week because they were dreadful. What this means for the Titans, who the Titans are going to have available. We are starting to get to the CVS receipt length of injury reports that people are commenting on. And, what somebody made a funny joke in my Twitter mentions yesterday about, now we're winning the injury reports again. We're back to our strengths. We found our identity. We are out-injuring other teams. Or not out-injuring, but being more injured. Anyway, 615-737-1045. Like I said, this is tough for Will Levis. This is not, the celebration of Will Levis taking over as Titan starter, all well and good. Okay, bud, you're up against it. The same exact stuff that is costing this team games, truly at its core, has not been resolved. Quarterback not good enough. All right, made a change. What are you doing about the rest of it? Because they've tried to make changes at a couple different places, and whether it's injury and just out of necessity that they got to get bodies back out there, this is basically the same football team that is 3-5 heading into Tampa Bay. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Rob in Nashville is next.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Just listening to you this morning. Brought up something that I heard the other day. Well, maybe a couple of weeks ago when the Titans were playing, they were talking about all the injuries and everything. My question to you, I've never really went down there and watched the Titans play. Maybe you have. Maybe you can tell us something. But do you think it's something that they doing to get injured like that? Are they not getting conditioned well enough, or are they over-conditioning? What's going on with this team? Because, they just all fall apart all of a sudden. Everybody's getting hurt. They always get hurt. This happens year after year. And I don't know. I think somebody really needs to look into this team because I think it's a big concern going on. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for the call. So, Lucas, you remember the the number that Vrabel gave at the end of the season when people started asking him about the strength and conditioning staff?
No.
The percentage of on-field injuries? There's 90% of their injuries occurred on the field. So just as a sample size for Rob and for the audience, because we can do this, we can look into this right here and now. I'm going to go through the players on the Titans injury report that either did not practice or are limited at this point in time. And you can tell me if you sense anything nefarious about it, okay? Traylon Burks, DNP, concussion. Does Traylon Burks' concussion have anything to do with the strength and conditioning staff?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay. Nicholas Petit-Frere, shoulder, surgery TBD. Saw the play where it almost looked like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical analyst, but it almost looked like a hyperextension type of situation.
Trying to block TJ Watt.
Trying to block TJ Watt. Looks like the shoulder hyperextends, and all of a sudden he goes out of the game. Would you consider that a strength and conditioning issue? Okay. Oh, Liam Neeson. We haven't done this in a while. All right. Very good. Daniel Brunskill. Ankle. DNP yesterday. Daniel Brunskill went down, got rolled up on, came back in the game, was clearly miserable, but finished the game. Is that a strength and conditioning issue? Okay. Football's hard. Football is not good for your body. And while I know that I am totally willing to acknowledge Titans fans' frustrations with the rate of injury of this team, certainly it is undeniable in the last 3 years, and particularly in 2021 when they set the record for the number of players that put on this jersey or put on the Titans jersey to go out there and dress for a game, all right? I get it. But you have to go through the injuries and understand where these things are happening. Now, the soft tissue stuff has not really been the talking point. Christian Fulton had the hammy in the first game of the year. We haven't talked about Christian Fulton's hamstring really since then. And in fact, you'll hear from Mike Vrabel on how much better Christian Fulton has been basically since London. Roger McCreary, hamstring, okay. That's a soft tissue situation. But is this one where Mike Vrabel will bring up at the end of the year how Roger McCreary is handling soft tissue injuries the way that he did with David Long and Christian Fulton? Or is this something that's directly attributed to the Titans strength and conditioning staff? These are, I mean, you can ask these questions if you want to, but you have to understand it's a much, much smaller percentage of these injuries that I think are fair to kind of dig into the way that Rob just alluded somebody needs to.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill didn't start battling injuries until the offensive line situation in front of him completely deteriorated.
Is a high ankle sprain anything to do with the strength and conditioning staff of the Tennessee Titans?
No. I mean, did Tannehill miss a game upon arriving in Tennessee until the 2022 season?
No. Do you remember whose consecutive start streak he broke?
Was it McNair's?
McNair's. Before the first high ankle sprain. All right, so that was against the Colts last year, late October, mid-October. Ryan Tannehill, I think the game prior to the Colts game, broke McNair's consecutive start streak. The guy who's tougher than all the other guys. The guy who plays through everything. Ryan Tannehill broke the streak. And then, proceeded to miss a fair amount of time over the course of the last 2 seasons that ultimately resulted in him being benched. 615-737-1045. We can get to more phone calls coming up next. We will also take a look at what this team can do to win a damn game on the road. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. 615-737-1045. That's the number if you want to jump in. Got some phone calls to get to. Will Levis on the road at Tampa Bay. Have you watched much of Baker this year? He's been fun.
He's been fun, but there's been a slide there.
Oh, sure.
Started 3-1. They've lost 4 in a row.
They're competitive, though. I'm so loath to think of one team other than, like the Carolina Panthers, who probably don't deserve to have the win that they have. But to think of one team as so much worse than another, to attribute too much to a slide other than randomness of football. Now, ultimately, you're 3-5 and you're in a division that you're still trying to scratch and claw at, because who's the leader in the NFC South right now?
Who is it?
The Falcons lost again.
Saints?
I think they might be tied.
It's the Saints. Saints are 5-4. Falcons are 4-5.
Okay, so 3-5, you're
you're very in it.
Very much in it. The halfway point, while people are talking about the way that seasons are over at 3-5, and even the 2-win football teams that are wandering around out there, everybody's basically stuck in this middle that the NFL has successfully created. And if you can get one highly competitive game on Sundays, you feel like you've gotten a great weekend of football, even though it's probably just one game out of a bunch of slop. So, point being, Baker and the Bucs at 3-5, how much different are they than the Titans at 3-5? And how much more impactful is that, given that the Titans are winless on the road? They have to win this football game. They have to win football games generally if they want to salvage any hope at a wild card spot, because, we talked about the AFC North, on Monday? Coming in here after the mini bye on Thursday Night Football is the best division in football, the AFC North right now, where every team is over 500, and all 4 would be in the AFC playoff picture if the playoffs started today.
This is the worst performing team at home the Titans have faced so far this year. Bucs are 1-3 at home, and their one win coming against the Bears in Week 1. So they've lost their last 3 home games.
Rocking a hard place, baby. Something's got to give. Who wants it more? Bucs at home, Titans on the road. Somebody do the damn thing.
Only game that they weren't necessarily competitive in this 4-game losing streak was the Lions game, 20-6. Only a 2-possession game, but the Lions kind of grinded that one out from start to finish, as they do.
So what is it going to take for this team to win on the road? Well, we can start very fundamentally, I think, in this discussion anyway, where when you're talking about the thing, what do the Titans do well? Okay, what do we know that the Titans do well? And I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, but not really. In all seriousness, what does this football team do successfully? They have a kicker. Okay. They have not consistently played good run defense, certainly not in the last month plus of football games. Is that something that they can directly improve on? Are teams content to just throw on you anyway? Because I think that, did you pay attention at all to Giardi talking about Belichick and the philosophical stuff that Belichick is married to? Special teams, run the ball, play good defense, you'll be in every game. And teams are content to just kind of let you screw around with your run game a little bit, pass all over you, because it's never been easier to do so. And a 4-yard pass is as efficient as any run play that you would have. And Belichick being married to that philosophy is not allowing him to evolve in an AFC East that is very, very much off. Well, I'd say that with the Jets wandering around. But the top of the AFC, of the AFC East anyway, is a team that is very, very gifted as an offensive unit and can score points at will, at least in this country, at any given possession. Does it not feel like that's still something that we're talking about here in Tennessee? Okay, well, your run defense is one thing, but if we can run on you, gravy. We can pass on you anyway. What can the Titans defense improve upon? Because I think that's the bigger letdown here to me than what's happening on offense. Will Levis seems to be the only quarterback that's comfortable regularly pushing it down the field in his first couple of starts. And I don't know if they're going to try and coach him more conservatively. Certainly the game plan seemed more conservative in Pittsburgh. But I'm looking around at a lot of passing games right now where Tua's having a hard time and Mahomes is having a hard time, and not a lot of teams. Like, scoring is down across the league, and it looks like defenses are adjusting to a lot more of the wide openness that we have seen in the last couple of years in the league.
The offensive line's worst performances have come on the road.
Okay, so Cleveland is public enemy number one.
Probably the worst one.
Probably?
Definitely the worst one.
Okay. What would you nominate as being even close to Cleveland? There have been a variety of bad.
You're right. As far as just not even having a chance.
Yeah.
Not even a remote iota of a chance to get anything going on offense. Yes, you're right. The Cleveland performance by the O-line was by far the worst of the season.
Okay.
What's the second worst?
The second worst of these games, of the 5 losses that they had, I would say
Baltimore. Offensive line performance.
Baltimore.
Okay. Because I don't know. I think Pittsburgh, the way that the Titans were getting torched on the outside with the tackles and the revolving door that it was.
Okay, so yes, revolving door. Did you hear any Brad Hopkins on Friday after we got back and I did Blaine and Mickey for a bit?
I did Titans talk back with Brad right after the Steelers game.
And did he talk about how much of a focal point for the Titans coaching staff? Because maybe he further discerned this after watching the game, beyond just the immediate Thursday night reaction. But at least Brad brought up with Mickey and I that they had intentionally designed their offensive game plan to try and mitigate the impact of TJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
And Watt's impact was felt beyond just the statistical output that TJ Watt was able to put together. But they do not have the personnel or enough help for the tackles to be able to execute a running game to help on both TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith at any given point. So they said, all right, Watt will take our chances trying to stop Watt. And if Highsmith beats us, at least it wasn't TJ.
Yeah, that's what happened, right?
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
But the point is, whether it was the Ravens game or the Steelers game, both of those games were away from home. Can we establish moving forward, we just reference the Ravens game as a road game?
Yes.
Like, I'm tired of doing the asterisk of, well, it was technically, no, stop. It was in London. It was across the Atlantic Ocean.
Who are you still fighting
not
with
a home
about
game.
this?
I feel like we bring it up every time. Like, that was a road game.
Well, I do it now because it bothers you.
Let's refer to it as such.
Okay.
But Browns game, Steelers game, Ravens game, all away from home. And then the Saints game to start the season.
Saints game, Tannehill was bad. The offensive line got better in the second half. The first half was not a pleasant experience. Andre Dillard was bad against the Saints. And Skoronski, they were doing some stuff up front to a rookie in his first start with Andre Dillard as your help there that was making the offensive line group. I mean, it was a struggle. It's a good defense. It's a good front.
They did give up 5 sacks at home to the Chargers. With Skoronski out of the lineup for the first time. Remember, Xavier Newman got the start.
Did they get to him 5 times?
They did.
That's right.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see that, too.
That's the second worst defense in football.
And that was a good offensive performance by the Titans that day.
So, a good offensive performance beyond the offensive line.
Despite the offensive line.
Okay. Trippin' Titans via YouTube says, Brad Hopkins gets mad about the Titans' offensive line issues. Don't you? Don't we all? I mean, Skoronski's going to be on the show today, okay? And, obviously people are going to want me to ask him, why are you guys so bad as an offensive line group, and what can you do to get better? Okay, rookie, answer it as best you can.
Rookie who is best player on said offensive line.
Rookie who is the best thing that they've got going. Peter, how can your teammates be better so that you're not the only one trying to drag this thing along here? Which is completely unfair for me to do to him, and I will not do exactly that. But beyond that, they're also I assume people are going to want to ask me or want me to ask him about playing left tackle. When we did exactly that, do you remember the last interview that we did with Peter Skoronski? And he explained all the differentiating factors for him moving from tackle inside to guard and how good he is at it right now.
That was half of a regular season ago.
Sure, it was training camp. But I think that, so the question about the left tackle thing is more fair for Skoronski today than it is just, I guess how to phrase it, because I was thinking about this last night. I was coming up with some questions. I also want to know if he actually gave the Buckeye to Vrabel.
That's my biggest question.
Keeper of the crypt,
That's
Kirby
all I
Allen
wanna
Kirby,
know.
pulled out of his bag and handed to a confused Peter Skoronski and said, "Give this to your head coach on his birthday." Very weird stuff. And if that's the weirdest interaction that he's ever had with a human being. So you can expect that at 11:15. But Mike Vrabel speaking yesterday about the Titans' struggles on the road yesterday at the press conference.
Well, just handling the road environment. We went down there and turned the ball over in New Orleans, had as many false starts as humanly possible. I mean, we ran out of guys to jump. But I think handling the road environment is critical, so that you're not late on a snap count. I thought that had improved, in Pittsburgh. Didn't win the game. But again, it's, knowing the center and being able to mix up silent cadence on third down or when we're in the gun, so that we're coming off on the football and then the defensive line isn't creating a new line of scrimmage. Receivers running off the football, getting open quicker. So there's some things that you have to do on the road, and then take care of the ball and turn it over. So again, we've been close, and that's not anywhere near good enough, but just been competitive at times.
Well, it doesn't really inspire you, I would say. Been competitive at times, close, but not near close enough. Okay, fair enough. I guess if you're in Vrabel's position and you know that talent-wise you are going to be deficient almost every week at this point, is it the right approach to just look for those improvements that he's describing or those competitive moments that he's describing to see where you can feasibly build upon? Or if that, at least whatever he's trying to preach to them isn't falling on deaf ears and that they're just worse than the players that they're up against.
I mean, what position group did Vrabel talk about there? He wasn't asked about that position group. He was asked about struggles on the road. What did he talk about? The offensive line.
Yeah. 615-737-1045 is the number. AG, speaking of offensive line, wants to talk about it.
I'm hoping that C.J. Stroud, some of his success is attributed to his offensive line, and I'm hoping Will Levis, he's still been shining despite having offensive line problems. So can you put some clarity on the situation with the offensive line with the Texans and the Titans? Like, does C.J. Stroud have a better offensive line than Will Levis does? That's all I got.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the call, AG. They definitely have a left tackle that's better. Laramie Tunsil, what is Laramie Tunsil again making top of market? He's been a gangster with the way that he's done his contracts, man. And rightfully so. The dude's a stud. I'll pull up some pressures allowed stats on Laramie Tunsil. Long story short, Texans do have a better offensive line group. They were hurt at the start of the year. They're missing the former, was he a first-round pick, Kenyon Green from Texas A&M?
Believe so, 16 in that range.
Injured reserve to start the year.
Titus
Howard went on IR. He's since returned to the lineup, and Laramie Tunsil, who missed some time at the start of the season, has returned to the lineup. And they signed the guy that you wanted to pay vet minimum, even though he knew he was better than your starting right tackle. They have played him in a variety of different positions because he made more money to go to the Texans, and that is George Fant. Now, Hubbard, by the way, has been good for you, but Fant has been a solid player. He has been a starting caliber player for them. And, you have to trim the fat where you need to because their financial situation was a disaster heading into this offseason, and we knew what they were kind of up against.
We talked about the pass protection issues on the road. Where do you think the Titans' 3 best rushing performances came this season?
I'm going to assume on the road.
Best rushing performances?
Well, no, that'd be at home because isn't that the thing that people keep citing for us? Derrick Henry's stats when they win, Derrick Henry carries when they win, so it's all at home, the rushing performances.
As a team, their best rushing performance was against Cincinnati, 173 yards. That was at Nissan Stadium. 149 yards against Atlanta has been their second best rushing performance of the season. That was at Nissan Stadium. And 141 yards against the Chargers was their third best rushing performance of the season.
Okay. I'd be curious to know how many of those are because they're playing in road environments and they're getting set behind because of penalties. Because they've had pre-snap penalties, they've had operational penalties. We can look up the number of those for you certainly to kind of suss that out a little bit further, but I think those are the kind of things when you can stay ahead of the chains, you can have the most efficient version of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry gets more carries. You can grind teams out at the end of games. Then Chris Johnson can tweet his stats about Derrick Henry plus 20 plus yards. Titans win a football game because they've gotten themselves in a position to use Derrick Henry. It's not running the running back for the sake of running Derrick Henry. And I know most of you don't boil it down to just that, although there's some people out there that do, and it drives me insane. You utilize Derrick Henry for a variety of different things that you want to set up in your offense, but also you can use a lot of things in your offense to set Derrick Henry up for success. And setting Derrick Henry up for success is with a lead heading into the fourth quarter where he's just going to hit you harder than you want to be hit after 3 quarters of football. 615-737-1045. How about Sarah in Nashville?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Hey, so, my biggest concern has been, everybody, and I think Levis is going to eventually do well, but everybody, jumping on the bandwagon there and expecting this poor guy to come in and be, save us. He's walking into the same situation that Tannehill has been in, the abysmal offensive line, defense playing like crap, and I think it's unfair to put that kind of expectation on him and for folks to be expecting that we're going to go out there now with a changing quarterback and win the next 9 games. I'd like to know what you all think, but if I look at the schedule that we've got remaining out there, and based on our performance as it's been, I see us going maybe 3-6 or 4-5 down the stretch. And I'd like to know what you all think.
Thank you for the call.
That was 60 seconds, literally on the dot.
You think she knew?
Everybody's been on point today, whether they know or not. Everybody has been right at or just under 60 seconds.
It just makes me sad when we don't use the Oscars, when we get too far away from the Oscars music, when they're playing the game too well.
No, I like it. I appreciate it.
Well, it's less work for you.
Less work for me. I'm literally pushing a button.
I don't. Are people real? Are there people out there, even the tinfoil hat people, that are talking about Levis coming in and in her words saving the season? I don't think I've seen that as as legitimate discourse. Maybe there are some people out there who would like to see that.
I think we could talk more about that in the noon hour, just what people want out of this campaign as far as end of the year, what they actually want to accomplish other than Will Levis and the growth there.
No, there's nothing more grounding than the start of a season at 3-5. So I think expectations are pretty realistic about what the Titans are capable of, at least in this year. And so we can talk about what Titans fans want out of the 2023 season now that Levis has officially been named the starter later on in the show. Meanwhile, there's one player on this roster who is having a pretty impressive bounce back that needs to be highlighted, and we'll talk about that coming up next. All right, Lucas, we got to talk about this. Now, I don't drag you into the light too often with stuff that you bring up off the air, but there are some things that I cannot let pass by for the purposes of content. You want to tell people what you just told me in a break?
We were talking about dreams, and I never have dreams. So when I do have a vivid dream, it sticks out. And last night, I had a dream that 104.5 The Zone put on a musical. And I wish I had more details. I really do. I wish I had more details on who was assigned which number, but I don't. I just remember
a musical.
That was the concept. Yes. 104.5 The Zone putting on a musical. So should we put that to a poll? If 104.5 The Zone were to put on a musical, what would it be?
What would it be? Do you have a favorite musical?
No.
This is probably not the audience to do favorite musicals with, to be honest with you.
I've never seen Book of Mormon. I've always really wanted to. I've always just heard incredible things about the musical Book of Mormon.
It's definitely worth it. Don't take your grandmother like I did.
Oh, no.
Mistake. Yeah, you were talking about, oh, no. Super Catholic, 6 a.m. Morning mass weekdays for my grandmother. Do not take her to the Book of Mormon. Mistake.
Tyler in the FNM Bank chat says Blaine and Slay would have the lead roles. Bert should organize it, says Trip and Titans. Emmett says Slay should be Santa Claus if we do a Christmas musical.
No, we can't do this.
But
they have a Who filter, like a Who from Whoville filter on TikTok. And I'm telling you, it's like you're singing the "Where Are You Christmas?" like with the Who face. It is hilarious. And we cannot do, if we are going to do a musical, it cannot be a Christmas musical.
Can we do Grease?
Who's John Travolta?
I was going to say, who's Danny and who's Sandy?
Well, we have limited resources as far as the female on-air talents around here. Not in terms of, I don't mean limited. We just don't have as many women as we do men. So, we're typecasting right out of the gate. It's Dawn or Kayla. I don't know. I don't remember enough about Grease, to be honest with you. I've definitely seen Grease a bunch of times. I don't, Sandy was innocent kind of. There was the female version of the Grease cast, right? Was kind of a little rougher. And Sandy is a little bit innocent, right?
Yes.
Look at me, Miss Sandra D. That's the whole.
Right,
that's the whole bit.
Right.
Well, then it can't be Dawn. It can't. Dawn's the leader of the Roughnecks. We can't. Dawn can't be Sandy.
Tyler on the FNM Bank chat says Bert has long hair. We could make it work. Wants to see Bert as Sandy.
I
love that. Either Bert or Slay as Sandy.
Well, we can't do that in the state of Tennessee. We'll have memos from our elected officials about cross-dressing. We can't do that around here, apparently. I don't know what we would do with Bert. Bert can't be. People are alleging that Bert would need to be a director. No, Bert is the star.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Bert has to be front. He has to be front and center. Did you do musicals and plays ever?
I did actually. Oh damn! What was the musical that we did in high school? It was my junior year. I'm blanking. It was something to do with apples. I can't remember. Maybe what's Tiny Tim?
Oh, that's Christmas. What's the Scrooge?
So it's a Christmas thing.
Yeah. What's it called?
I don't know. I don't remember.
What's the Scrooge?
Oh, this is terrible. My mom made me watch that damn movie every year too. I hated it.
We did
with the Ghost of Christmas Past, Ghost of Christmas Present.
Right.
I can name all of the things except the name of the damn movie.
We did Music Man, and that was Marcellus. So I did the Shapoopy.
I feel like everybody did Music Man. DHB says a 104.5 The Zone play for charity would be awesome. Nobody would buy that.
A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol.
Okay. DHB says Mean Girls. Mean Girls is a Broadway musical now. I would do Mean Girls.
I saw that.
I could so be Regina George. I would rock that.
They're putting out a movie version of the Mean Girls musical.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I saw a trailer for it.
A movie version?
Yeah, they're in theaters.
So it's just going to be Mean Girls, but a musical.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're bringing back.
Sorry, I had trouble processing. I said, what do you mean they're making a movie version of the movie?
No, the musical is hitting theaters. Yeah, and they're bringing it's a different cast as far as it's not Lindsay Lohan and Rachel McAdams, but They are bringing back like Tina Fey and Tim Meadows.
I can't believe you didn't bring this up. How did this not make the show rundown? You had me getting ready to talk about Titans bounce back players here.
It just came up in the break.
God. So you have no other details? Like you don't have lead actors, you don't have.
No, I don't. I just remember that it was just there, and we were there. We were all getting ready for it and getting ready to go on stage, and I don't even remember how it happened, or it's a dream. Like it fizzles out of your memory so quickly.
Curtis's podcast network on YouTube says I could see Lucas as the girl who makes fetch happen.
Oh, Amanda Seyfried. I can't remember how to say her
Gretchen.
name. Yes. She's very funny in that movie. I would take that role. I was always,
but she's not funny. She's being laughed at in that movie.
well, yeah, but it's funny. I was always the comedic relief. I would be like a 12-year-old me. Like, why can't I get a real role? But like, nah, I'd just be the funny guy. All right,
Dance clown.
yeah.
All right. That's the Titans bounce back player of the.
We were going to talk about Christian Fulton here.
We can do that coming up next.
It is 10:58. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica on the 104.5 The Zone airwaves. This week, Titans head coach Mike Vrabel officially named rookie quarterback Will Levis the starter moving forward, with Ryan Tannehill moving into a backup role. Tannehill met with the media on Wednesday and talked about how he's handling that new role.
Yeah, I mean, I want to handle the situation with class, right? It's not a fun situation to be in, but I want to be a pro and handle it with class and, still be a guy that people can look to. So, not an ideal situation, but, I want to try to handle it well.
First injury report of the week came out on Wednesday as the Titans prepare to travel to Tampa this weekend. Azeez Al-Shire, Daniel Brunskill, Traylon Burks, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Nicholas Petit-Frere did not practice. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 2 on this Thursday. Welcome in, welcome back. Peter Skoronski going to join us in just about 15 minutes from now. We have very important journalism to do with the Titans' first-round pick in this past year's draft. We have to discover whether or not the Buckeye that Kirby gave him in our last interview made it to Mike Vrabel.
What was the... Did we play high key or low key with Skoronski?
We played high ski, low ski, and all you did was ask him pizza topping questions, which he appeared to be quite bored with.
We should bring that back in. That was good.
Okay.
That was good stuff.
We will do high ski, low ski with Peter Skoronski at 11:15 today. In the meantime, is there anything on this roster that has made tangible improvements since the season started? It's a fair question to ask. Now, maybe not a fair question to ask of the head coach, who yesterday responded by saying, I'm not interested in doing midseason report cards. Okay, fair enough. But it is worth talking about from our standpoint, because as we look at Will Levis and what this might mean for the Titans offense, how much better this might make them, how much more competitive at the very least, and would that at least lead to a road win? ? The unthinkable for a team that has yet to do so in a long, long time. We're definitely coming up on a calendar year of that. So at this point, what on the roster can you say has discernibly improved? Is there a position group that comes to mind? There's a player I think that's worth at least tipping a cap to, because certainly he was the source of a lot of your guys' frustration when the season started, and that's Christian Fulton. He is, since London, playing. I mean, Roger McCreary, in all fairness, has missed a couple of games. It's the most amount of time, apparently. I guess Kayla, I think I saw caught up with him in the locker room yesterday. And I guess this is the longest stretch of football that Roger McCreary has missed, at least during his college career and professional career. But without Roger McCreary in the lineup, they have needed corners to step up. And certainly with Sean Murphy-Bunting being largely unavailable for Thursday Night Football and doubtful, according to the head coach, for this coming Sunday against Tampa, Christian Fulton playing pretty well. He's allowed only 47 yards over the last 3 games. So the last 3 opponents have been Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and the Ravens. Ravens probably the most threatening of the 3, but still, only 47 yards over the last 3 games. Last week, he was targeted 7 times, so teams still going at him. This is courtesy of Teron Davenport. Last week, Fulton targeted 7 times, defending against 4 different wide receivers. He only allowed 4 receptions for 11 yards. That includes versus George Pickens, 2 receptions for -1 yard on 3 targets.
You seen the stuff with George Pickens, by the way, in Pittsburgh? See what Mike Tomlin said about him?
No.
Pickens took to Instagram and something cryptic about his usage and not getting enough catches, even though he had a golden opportunity, had a pretty important touchdown, and couldn't get that second foot down.
Sure.
And Tomlin's asked about it in the presser, and Tomlin said, and I quote, "That is a pebble in my shoe." Mike Tomlin does not have time for George Pickens' Instagram complaining about not getting enough targets. And I told Ramon this morning, that man is just an artist with words. I loved that quote. That is a pebble in my shoe. He just couldn't have described it better.
Of course he's not worried. Of course it's a pebble in a shoe. He's too busy cutting people's eyelids off so they can't blink during games. That's also a Mike Tomlin quote. Is he the most quotable coach in the NFL?
Right now? Yeah, I think so. Gotta be.
Just on a weekly basis, going in, I mean, how many times do they have to talk to us throughout the course of the week? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. So 5 days out of 7 days a week, Mike Tomlin, out of one of those 5 press conferences, is going to give you something like, that's a pebble in my shoe, talking about George Pickens' cryptic Instagram post.
Just could not have described it better. But yes, Pickens did not have a good day against the Titans, and Fulton a big part of that.
Well, I think the closer thing that may be bothering Mike Tomlin more is the reason that the wide receiver isn't thriving more is the quarterback situation is not ideal in Pittsburgh. Like, I can't remember who posed this question, who I might have been listening to early in the week. Maybe it was Todd McShay. Todd McShay, who formerly of ESPN, he's been doing a lot with Ryan Russillo's podcast. I like Russillo's podcast a lot. McShay talking about the Thursday night game and basically posing the question, would you rather have Pickett or Levis moving forward? And is there anybody that's taking Pickett in that scenario? Even after 2 games of Will Levis as a pro. Pickett's played a season and we'll call it a season and a half.
It feels unfair, though, until we have a sample size of Levis as much as we do of Pickett.
It wasn't unfair in Atlanta where they've already benched Desmond Ridder. I mean, unfair by what standard? Anyway, before we get too distracted, Christian Fulton has been one of the most improving parts of this roster on a roster that's not been great. That is worth pointing out. This was Mike Vrabel yesterday.
I mean, keep battling and competing, and it hasn't been perfect, but I feel like he's really he again. I know the corner's first job is to cover the guy and make sure that his man doesn't catch the ball in man coverage or match coverage, and then being able to break on the football in zone. But been impressed with the way he's tackled and replaced. I mean, it's been probably the best from Christian that I can remember. I think he feels stronger physically. I can remember a couple in Atlanta, where he's stepping up there and replacing and fitting and running his feet and pretty impressive. So it's a tough job playing corner in this league with the rules, and so you just keep challenging and keep showing back up and competing.
That's as ringing an endorsement of a player as you'll get from Mike, right? Where people are bitching about he's not glowing about Levis overwhelmingly. That's a pretty ringing endorsement from Mike Vrabel as a defensive head coach about a player who he was comfortable kind of saying we need better or we can start. Who pulled Christian Fulton already this season? Not an outright benching like Andre Dillard, where Dillard didn't come back into the Ravens game, but they pulled Christian Fulton for Trey Avery. Was that Baltimore? It feels like so long ago when that happened. Maybe the game before Baltimore. Either way, where this was a thing that was legitimately a problem for them, and Christian Fulton, to his credit, has corrected it. He's improved throughout the course of the season. Did you pay any attention to Lewan yesterday? Talking about how he didn't understand as a football player why people freaked out so much after every result, either positively or negatively as a player. But now that he's on the outside, he understands it a little bit better. I really do think that they look at football games and individual performances so much differently, or with so much more. I mean, for obvious reasons, they look at it with much more context than we do on the outside of this stuff. But I do think it's fascinating to see just how far apart fans and football players are on things like Christian Fulton's struggles.
Yeah, it wasn't unfair. They were not unfair. He got pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No, we were asking Mike Vrabel about the idea of benching Christian Fulton and him publicly acknowledging, all things are on the table as we look to improve the football team, basically. And did so. People are still guessing the names of plays that they want us to perform now. I don't know that there's a bounce back performance in that. I can think of only bad things that could result from that. But to Christian Fulton's credit, where the secondary has looked for some semblance of stability, the most talented corner that you have, and I do maintain that position, is starting to play like it in the last month of football for them. And that's the kind of thing that you need as you move forward. Because Mike Evans is going to be tough for anybody. I mean, they don't have corners travel that way. So typically corners in their defense play on one side of the field. I don't know how they're going to look to deploy Mike Evans against the Titans specifically, but it's going to be a problem for a lot of people on Sunday.
That and they need McCreary back.
They really need McCreary back.
With Sean Murphy-Bunting's situation especially.
Well, because like Trey Avery is a good enough corner, but you don't want him to play an extended stretch of games. Like you can go out there for a football game and play with Trey and have Trey Avery start for you at corner. And that be a more than a survivable situation. I think Trey Avery has had really, really sound snaps. Tackling has certainly been a strength of his. You know, his ability to hold up in coverage and to play with some of the better receivers in the league, play against some of the better quarterbacks in the league. Obviously, that's fair to question. But they have enough to get by right now. But certainly McCreary getting back in the lineup, I mean, he's their most consistent player in the secondary. Even more so than Amani Hooker, I think. Amani's been all right this year. But they don't. Kevin Byard, at his best, was a playmaker at a position that is so much more reactive than it is proactive at safety, right? The way that Kevin Byard was so able to consistently intercept quarterbacks in a variety of different ways, and the fact that this team has 2 interceptions on the season, both struggling to consistently affect the quarterback to force those kind of turnovers, and really guys in the secondary not making enough plays. I mean, turnover luck is not something that you can like game plan for necessarily. You can put yourself in position to make turnovers when they come available to you and just generally have your head on a swivel out there. But the turnovers and the run defense are 2 things that they absolutely have to get a handle on.
The conversation with Fulton will become then, if he continues this and plays well throughout the rest of the regular season, what does that look like for next year?
Or you pay him
when he becomes a free agent. Because
there's no question.
3 weeks ago, there was no question to anybody that, that guy's not coming back no matter what.
This is why you can't make assessments after the first month of the season. They would bring Christian Fulton back if he is playing at this level and if he holds up.
Yeah, if he's available.
That's the one thing that, I mean, has been a little bit of the talking point around Christian Fulton at the start of the year with the hamstring injury against the Saints, and since then he's rebounded well. Anyway, Peter Skoronski's next. Welcome back to the show. Very happy to have Titans left guard Peter Skoronski join us now before he heads out to practice. Second time Peter's been good enough to jump on with us. Did Puff have to talk you into this, or is this willing participation today, Peter?
No, it's willing. It's willing.
Are you sure? Because Lucas is trying to play high ski, low ski again. And I said, do we have to just do the thing where we ask the offensive lineman food questions again? Or is there going to be more creativity? I tried to save you. He seems relentless.
I'm expecting just a click here and just the phone
That's
tone.
all right. No,
I would totally hang up on us if I was Peter. But anyway, he's here with us. In the meantime, Titans at the Bucs this coming weekend. You can hear it right here on 104.5 The Zone for all your Titans radio coverage. Before we talk about football to do with you guys, were you at this Iowa Northwestern game at Wrigley Field?
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
You sound like a survivor. I mean, Peter, 0-0 at halftime, neither quarterback getting over 100 yards passing. What is that like to witness?
It's a typical gritty Iowa Northwestern game. A lot of running the ball, not a lot of passing. Boiling down to who turns it over, who wins the field position battle. It's not for everybody, but it's a different brand of football.
So, but it's for you though. You're like you take pride in the grittiness of. I mean, I know Northwestern didn't win the game, 4-5 though, not a bad season given their situation coming into the year. But 10-7, the final score. You as a program, you guys take pride in that, yes?
Yeah, I mean, I think we take pride more in winning. I'd rather win 49-45 than lose 10-7. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how the conference kind of rolls and how the Big Ten West rolls. And you got to be able to play defense and you got to be able to run the ball and do things right in special teams. I think that's kind of what that game ended up being. And we always did take pride in that. Yeah, I mean, that's how Iowa is. I mean, say what you want about Iowa and how they play, they're always winning. So, it's a little gritty, but it's winning football.
Peter Skoronski here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So, I mean, do you ever, and maybe you're not willing to do this, but is there a Big Ten program that you like to make jokes at the expense of most? Because Iowa is the one that people most often point at and laugh at, even though they are a winning program.
Oh, man, there's a few.
If you say Indiana, it's okay. You're just going to hurt my feelings.
No, I wouldn't say Indiana. It's fun. It's fun to tease Michigan with all that's been going on. It's fun to tease, Minnesota, Nebraska a little bit. Iowa, I do respect. Like I said, they, love them or hate them the way they play. They've won more than anybody in that side of the division. So you have to respect it.
So we have important journalism to do here with you today because the last time I just assume it's the weirdest interaction that you've ever had with another human being since becoming a professional athlete. Our engineer, Kirby Allen Kirby, the Grim Reaper-looking individual that was with us when last you sat down with us, handed you a Buckeye to give to your head coach, and all he said to you was he'll know what it means. One, is that the weirdest interaction that you've had with another human being? And two, did the Buckeye make it to Vrabel?
No, it wasn't weird. I did make it to Vrabel, and he really appreciated it, and he was in a good mood after that, after I gave him to it, because he knew exactly what it was, and he was thankful for it. So I appreciate you guys giving me some goodwill about a coach.
Is that the only way to effectively put him in a good mood, is just put a Buckeye on his desk and walk away?
Well, it seemed to work that day, so yeah.
All you do is criticize Kirby. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get to Vrabel.
Oh, okay, but Peter, you can't tell me that a random individual looking the way that Kirby does, smelling of cigarette smoke and pulling Buckeyes out of his backpack for you to hand to your head coach as a rookie is not a strange interaction.
Yeah, it was certainly unexpected, but the end result was good.
So if that is not the strangest interaction with another human being you've had since becoming a professional athlete, what is?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, there's always weird things fans say. I don't know. Nothing really stands out in particular. I mean, that's definitely an interesting one with the Buckeyes, but yeah.
Something fans have come up with is the nickname for your quarterback, Will Levis of Billy Jeans. Do you guys call him Will Damn Levis as much as Jeff seems to? Or is it Billy Jeans at practice, or is it just Will at this point?
I haven't heard I think Jeff just owns the Will Levis. I don't know Billie Jean. I haven't heard that one. I don't know if he really has one, to be honest. It's just Will right now. Willie, I don't know.
So that's the first time you've heard Billie Jean's?
It is, yeah. This is news to me.
Is that an acceptable nickname for a quarterback whose phones most of us autocorrect to Levi's?
Yeah, that is. That happens to me a lot too. Actually, I gotta change the algorithm on my phone, but that's appropriate.
How many more touchdown passes does he have to throw before our phone stopped autocorrecting to Levi's?
I don't know. I think it'll take a lot to override the whole Apple system. But if anyone can do it, it's Will. So.
Well, you guys got to be excited, and you in particular, just because this is your rookie classmate. I know, as a teammate, no matter how long you've been in the league or how little you've been in the league, you're excited for guys who get opportunities. But for you personally, and for you guys as an offensive line group, for Will to get this shot after to truly get this shot after 2 starts where he's played some pretty solid football, I assume you guys take great pride in that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's encouraging to see a young guy come in like that and have a really professional approach and take command of the huddle and do pretty well. So that's definitely really encouraging as an O-line, knowing you have a guy like that back there. So yeah, really proud of Will and what he's done so far, and hopefully we can keep that going with him.
So for you guys, what is the key to improving upon what you've been able to do so far, or continuing to do what you've been able to do so far as an offensive line group? Because Peter, people at least externally always try to put it on one player, and I know it's never as simple as that, especially with an offensive line unit.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. I mean, it's the whole unit most of the time. It goes down to protecting him better. That's something we could really improve on, and that's only going to help Will even more and let him do his job even better. So protection, first of all, comes to mind, and just getting better there and being solid so our quarterback can do his job.
Your head coach has been asked it enough, and fans want me to ask you. So has there been any consideration of you playing left tackle at this point, Peter?
No, I'm just trying to do my job at left guard. That's hard enough there. So, if they ask me to do it, I'll do it, but that hasn't been in discussion right now, and I'm just trying to get this guard spot down. So.
See, Lucas, I told you, you're so scared. He had it as a high ski, low ski question at the end. We were going to do it comedically, Peter, and he chickened out. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you.
That's all right.
Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's go, Lucas. Give him the game show music.
All right, another edition of High Ski or Low Ski with offensive lineman Peter Skoronski. Peter, high ski or low ski, football games in baseball venues.
Overall high ski, but if the grass is bad like it was Saturday, low ski.
Did the grass have much impact on the outcome of the game? Like 10-7, 0-0 at halftime. Is the grass to blame?
It's hard to say not playing, but having played there 2 years ago, I'd say it was impactful.
So could you tell where they had to go over the dirt on the base paths?
I don't know if that was totally obvious, but in general, it was just a little slippery and a little unsturdy, I'd say.
Okay, high ski or low ski. The band Creed is coming to Nashville soon. Ticket prices are insane. Are you high ski or low ski on Creed?
I feel like I've heard good things. I'm not a super dedicated Creed fan, so I'll say low ski, but I'm sure they're great, and I'm sure people will enjoy them, but I'm not super familiar with.
Is it a generational thing, Peter? Is this how we get old? Like, are we making Creed jokes that are just go over your head at this point?
Maybe a little bit. Not to sound like too much of a Gen Z guy, but yeah.
No, it's okay. I'm enjoying this because I turned 30 this year. Lucas is scared of it, and it makes me happy to point that out to him every once in a while.
All right, Thanksgiving coming up. Are you high ski or low ski on Thanksgiving food in general?
I'm low ski. I'm not crazy about it. I like the idea of Thanksgiving, but turkey's okay. Stuffing's okay. And I've some pretty great cooks in my family, but generally Thanksgiving food, low ski on it.
So what would you prefer? What is your ideal Thanksgiving main entree?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like you still have to eat the Thanksgiving food. It feels wrong to eat something else. It feels weird to replace that with something. I just feel like I'm not great. You still eat it, but like it's not necessarily like your all-time favorite food.
No, I support that position.
High ski or low ski? Musicals.
Musicals, you said?
Musicals.
Like theater musicals?
That's right.
Oh, okay. High ski. My brothers was always very into that, and so as a result, I always have seen a few musicals growing up. So yes, high ski.
We're thinking about putting on a 104.5 The Zone musical. Do you have any recommendations? What's your favorite one?
Oh, I don't know. I think I've seen Wicked a few times before with my family.
Ooh, that'd be a good
that
one.
was a good one. So
all right, last one.
classic one.
There it is.
High ski or low ski with Titans offensive lineman Peter Skoronski.
He's a guard, damn it, Lucas. A guard. Say guard.
What did I say?
Yeah, offensive lineman.
Oh, he's not an offensive lineman.
He's a guard.
Gotcha. Jim Harbaugh, cheater.
Is that the high ski, low ski?
Yeah. High ski or low ski?
Yeah, that's a big low ski for me.
Lawan was in here, and we were just having the time of our lives yesterday, Peter, just peppering him about this
I'm sure
Michigan
he was high
situation.
ski on him. Yeah.
He's very high ski on it. Peter Skoronski, buddy, we appreciate you putting up with this silliness and continued health and success. We appreciate the time.
Thank you. My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
That's Peter Skoronski. He was so good not to hang up as soon as we threatened to play high ski, low ski again.
Yeah, he was. He was very good about that. Are you a Thanksgiving food guy?
No, God, I hate turkey.
No? What's your Thanksgiving plan? Nothing?
No. What was that?
I feel like you take pride. You're so boisterous in your pride at talking about how you love getting to avoid going home for Thanksgiving.
I don't like family functions.
Because of your duties. Yeah.
I don't like family functions. Like, I'm not scared to admit it. I don't like having this. We've gone through this every damn holiday season, Lucas. It's not that I take pride in avoiding these things. I don't like them. All right? I would say that I wish that I could do something about it, but I don't. I'm very happy to not do these things. So, I go to steakhouses on Thanksgiving. I make dinner reservations this year. I'm going to an Italian joint.
My parents are going to be in Italy with my dad's family during Thanksgiving. Megan's parents are going to also be out of the country. So Megan and I are going to make a duck. We're going to go duck instead of turkey. I'm very excited.
Have you had duck before? You've had duck
I've had
before.
duck. I've never made duck. I'm excited for the challenge.
That's a real, well, but you cook. Like do you cook every night at this point?
Most nights, yes. Most nights.
Stephen King says Buck needs a hug. No, I need less hugs. I don't like hugs. Don't hug me. I maintain that the soccer team lost 2-0 in their playoff series because the mascot hugged me. I'm convinced. Bad juju. Don't hug me. Get your shots next time, Tempo. You want to talk about that at all? You got away with it because Lawan walked in here about the soccer team just absolutely sucking.
Well, we wrapped up the season last night on NSC Backstage, and it was definitely quite a ride for Nashville SC this year. The League's Cup run, I think, did take a lot out of them, and Gary Smith talked about that after the game the other night, and just kind of sputtering a bit offensively at the end of the season. The defensive standard never really wavered, just couldn't find the goals in the right moments at the end there, and they'll kind of start the journey that is an MLS offseason, a totality of like 3, maybe 4 weeks of actually getting time off before you have to get back into the groove of preseason, and then they're playing CONCACAF Champions Cup, which they qualified for because of the League's Cup run in early February. So it's a quick turnaround.
615-737-1045 is the number. So, we made a joke out of the left tackle thing for Skoronski, but you heard it from him. They haven't even asked. Like, it's not... He hadn't taken a rep there since maybe rookie minicamp, like maybe a little bit in OTAs. Training camp through the season, he's been a left guard. So for the hand-wringing about the Skoronski situation, Vrabel said it, I think, as best as it can be put. And by the way, if you want to continue to clamor for it or ask for it, it is entirely your right to do so. But I think at this point, we understand that only the doomsday scenario for the Titans offensive line group is going to have Peter Skoronski at left tackle because they very, very much value him and what he helps them do to at least mitigate some of the pressure that they are getting on the inside. And by the way, he will be very, very important because Vita Vea is much bigger than Aaron Brewer, and Brewer is going to need all the help that he can get. It's an interesting way to kind of pose that question. Would you rather have, so just for an example, would you rather have Peter Skoronski against Shaq Barrett or Vita Vea? Just for the audience to kind of pose that to them. They don't play the Chiefs this year, but would you rather, who's the best Chiefs edge rusher right now? Would you rather have,
I don't know,
Skoronski? It's a good question since they've gotten rid of Frank Clark a couple of years ago.
Is it Karlaftis? I'm not sure.
No, by the measurements, it is Karlaftis. Yeah. George Karlaftis was, I think it was a late first-round pick, if I remember.
Yeah, out of Purdue.
I think that A.J. Parkinson says, how the bleep has he never taken a snap at left tackle? Is that not a gross disservice to the team? No, because they're saying he's more important there, and they don't have anybody to stop the also highly paid interior defensive linemen that are making as much as the edge rushers because interior pressure bothers the quarterback more.
I guess the thought for people on the Skoronski left tackle thing is, well, you can just move him back to guard at any point.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying that's the retort.
All right, well, then when Vita Vea picks Corey Levin and Aaron Brewer up in one hand and the other and throws them into your quarterback next week, or maybe he couldn't do that so
that's
easily.
fine, but people have been asking for this since well before the Titans were preparing for Vita Vea, and they were preparing for T.J. Watt and preparing for...
But what I'm saying is, what is more important right now to prevent as an offense? Interior pressure or pressure on the edge? The edge guys get the most sacks because they're being flushed out of the pocket by the interior guys.
Are you talking about this week?
I'm talking about on the whole, on the season, as a league. What has the league's financials told you that they value most right now? The interior guys are getting paid as much as the edge guys. And that's as simple a football context. On defense. Yes.
Definitely not on offense.
Oh, no, that's not true. How much is Quentin Nelson making?
Quentin Nelson is an exception. I'd be interested to pull up the highest paid guards.
You just had a guard hold out of Dallas Cowboys training camp. Lucas, guards are making $20 million a year in the league.
What are the best tackles making?
Who's
the highest paid tackle in the NFL?
I bet it's
Trent Williams?
Laramie Tunsil right now, I bet is the highest paid tackle in the NFL right now because he just redid his deal. So I bet that if I don't remember the details exactly on Tunsil's deal, I want to say north of 25. So I'm not saying that edge guys that edge players are less important to protect against.
Laramie Tunsil got a 3-year, $75 million extension with the Texans.
So it's him. But what the league is telling you is, the interior guys are also freakishly athletic too, and they get there faster. So as fast as you think your offensive line is being undone at tackle right now, if you were to nuke it from the inside the way that they are alleging that Peter Skoronski moving outside would do, then you're playing lesser of two evils here is all I'm trying to say. That's, like I said, it's the logic that they are moving forward with. Whether you agree with that logic or not is entirely your right. You can have whatever opinion you want about the Titans' offensive line situation. I'm just providing you the context of why they're doing it. And if that doesn't make enough sense to you, okay.
I wonder if, I know we don't like to do hypotheticals, or you and Vrabel don't, but let's say, what if the Titans were in a spot where, they're not 5-3, but they're 6-2. There's still that massive hole at left tackle. And you feel like there's something there. There's a window to win the division, to make a big playoff push, but that left tackle spot is just a blemish that keeps coming back around and hurting them. I wonder if then it would be something that they would give consideration to, as opposed to now at 3-5 with Peter Skoronski. I get that can be your Zach Martin. That can be your left guard of the future, 10-plus years, all-pro caliber player, and I fully support that, and that's why they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if the situation was a little bit differently in what we felt the Titans could accomplish this year, just how much higher their ceiling would be if you had a feasible option at left tackle like a Skoronski, if they would move him out there in that case.
How feasible is he if he hasn't taken a snap there?
Sure.
That which is just devil's advocate.
Yeah, they haven't even worked him there.
But
I'm saying, would they if the situation was different?
Maybe. I can't answer that question because I feel like that would be the coaching staff's pushback is how viable of an option is it really if he's not taking a single snap there. Now, then you can say, well, that's on you as a coaching staff for not giving him a snap there. So you can back and forth this all you like. I think at least with a scenario like that you've presented. But you would understand them being reticent to do so, even if you feel that them not repping him at all at left tackle was negligent as a starting point. Steve in Nashville is next about the offensive line. Hey, Steve.
Respectfully disagree, my friend. I don't care where the pressure's coming from. I just want them to figure out, and you'll laugh, who is our tackle? Because they seem to draft Dylan Radins. Oh, he's a tackle. Nah, we got to move him to guard. He's not a tackle. Let's draft Skoronski. Wait. He's not a tackle. He's a guard. And so I don't think they know what tackle is over there. You may want to go over there and just say, hey, guys, that's who protects you from the edge rusher. I don't care where the pressure's coming from. If it gets there in 2 seconds, obviously Dillard's not a very good caliber player. So figure it out between the two athletic guys you have right now in Radins and Skoronski on the left. And I don't care what they do. Just keep them there. Let them play together. You can develop that.
So, Steve, your sticky note says anybody but Dillard, basically, is what you're alleging.
Anybody but Dillard. Well, Daly, too. You Daly or Dillard. No double Ds.
The fact that they're wearing the same number,
they are the same person. It's the irony is everywhere.
Crazy. They just put more money there. That's all.
That's right. That's what I said yesterday. You paid Dennis Daly $10 million a year, and he looks a little different. His hair's a little shorter.
His name slightly adjusted. Still starts with a D. Same number. Same results.
Dennis Dillard. I don't want to say that I feel bad for the guy because go out there and do your job and do your job better and you won't have to deal with this stuff. But he just you could have at least avoided the comparisons by putting on a different number. And maybe it's like Chris Moore, because you remember when Chris Moore sat down with us, or I can't remember if that was at training camp with us.
Camp. Yep.
Was it at camp or was it at the
No, it was at camp because we asked him about who the best FIFA player is in the locker room.
Right, but what I'm saying, I can't remember whether he gave this specific quote about not remembering that it was A.J. Brown's number that he was wearing until...
That was at the podium, yeah.
I thought that was a podium question, not with us. Anyway, Heisman Watch. We'll do it next. All right, so what's the deal with Creed? What's going on with Creed? They have a sold-out tour. Apparently, they've reemerged from the depths.
Yeah, apparently they're coming to Nashville in the near future, and tickets are insane.
Okay, so it's like that Shaq meme. You know what I'm talking about? Where he says, I have to apologize. I was not familiar with your game. Like, I didn't realize Creed had this kind of cult following. I mean, they have one of the most memorable Super Bowl performances of all time.
That's not a Super Bowl performance. That's just a halftime Dallas Cowboys game performance.
Oh, is that not a Super Bowl?
It might have been a Thanksgiving Cowboys game.
Okay, maybe Thanksgiving
Definitely
Cowboys.
not a Super Bowl. It was in Jerry.
I was going to say, like, Creed playing, the idea of Creed playing a Super Bowl is funny to me, but apparently it shouldn't be that funny because the tickets are impossible to get.
They're actually not. I'm looking at it. They're coming to Ascend Amphitheater in August, and so you can get tickets for.
Okay, so it's not like they're not playing a stadium. They're playing
Ascend. It's like well over $200 before all the fees. So probably like $400 if you're going on Ticketmaster.
What do you? Yeah, this is if this is an insensitive question, let me know. But what do you typically pay for a concert ticket? Like, what does the average concert ticket cost?
It depends on the show. Like, I'm gonna pay probably right under or right at $200 to go see Billy Strings back-to-back nights at Bridgestone in February.
Okay, but you're like a Dave Matthews person. Like, you travel with this Billy
I
Strings guy.
I went to Huntsville, but that's 90 minutes away.
Well, you saw it here, too, didn't you?
I did see Billy here.
Billy.
That's yeah, me and Billy,
Fine. Right now. Find yourself right now, damn it. Right now. I'm doing that preemptively because Jelly Roll won the best new artist at the CMA Awards last night, and I am going to do that, which I know Lucas is going to find me for, so I'm preemptively striking. Why are we? Is there any reason we're playing Creed right now? I know Bert has been back there. He's back there cooking.
When I walked in here this morning, he was just watching Creed music videos and just dying laughing.
He's been on this since last night. On primetime last night, he came up with this harebrained idea, as he often does. I'm like, Robert, it is 9 o'clock. Don't you want to go spend time with Cheyenne instead of talking to me about your Creed schemes for whatever you want to do on the radio show? So apparently there's something coming Creed related. Creed and Titans related in the noon hour. Brace yourselves, courtesy of Robert Lee Walsh. What's the latest on the Heisman watch? We have talked about the USC loss, the devastation as a result. They're out of the playoff. They're out of the Pac-12 contention, truly. And now it looks like, who's the lead dog?
Still Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah.
It will be until he does. I don't know, until he has a clunker, until Washington has a clunker, and I don't really see it. I'll pull up Washington's schedule coming up. Obviously, they win 52-42 over USC over the weekend. Penix, 22 of 30, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I have to bring this up again. Dylan Johnson, the Washington running back, 26 carries, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns. If this was fantasy football, he would single-handedly win you your matchup that week. But Michael Penix continues to lead the nation in passing yards.
I can't believe. I mean, it's 2 years. I have to stop saying that I can't believe it, but I can't believe that the former Indiana quarterback is this person.
Former Tennessee commit, former Indiana quarterback, current Washington Husky. He's got already over 3,200 passing yards on the year. Leads the nation by a large margin. 26 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Here's the crazy thing. He's only taken 6 sacks.
Yeah, no, he's been well protected.
Played 9 games, 6 sacks.
He's been well protected.
I mean, just for reference, Caleb Williams has been sacked 26 times. Drake May's been sacked 22 times.
And those are like standard numbers.
Yeah, and Shedeur Sanders, 45. Yeah. That's not standard. That's insane. But 6 sacks, that is truly, I mean, that is remarkable. Bo Nix, if we want to talk about dominant offensive lines, Bo Nix is the second favorite at plus 180. Penix is plus 140. You want to tell me how many times Bo Nix has been sacked this season?
15.
4. That Oregon offensive line is elite.
What?
It's elite.
4?
4 times.
People were worried that was going to leave when Cristobal did.
And he's got the best touchdown to interception ratio among all these contenders, 25-2. And Jordan Travis is the third favorite at the moment at plus 800. As Florida State remains unbeaten. As far as guys that have fallen out of the race, Jaden Daniels has kind of fallen down that pecking order to the 6th favorite now at plus 1,600. I think it's probably safe to put Dylan Gabriel out of that discussion after Oklahoma drops back-to-back games to Kansas and then losing again last week to Oklahoma State. Carson Beck has crept up to the fourth favorite, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, there is a significant drop-off between, you got Penix and Nix and everybody else at the moment.
Yeah.
And I honestly, whoever wins the Pac-12 championship, which appears to be Washington versus Oregon, may very well end up being the Heisman winner. But after that, there's a drop-off with Jordan Travis at plus 800 and Carson Beck at plus 1,200. And Josh Pate has been banging this drum on his show that just hasn't had a bad game. Not one. Not one game that you can point to and say, man, Beck, they got away with one there with the way Beck played. He has been steady this year.
And steady is all that offense requires.
Yep.
Clearly. All that defense requires. It's the latest on the Heisman watch. I promised you I wouldn't do this with Milton, and I think, having successfully made it through the bulk of a college football season without doing this, I should be allowed to do it at least once before the draft gets here. Who's the best draft prospect among these quarterbacks right now?
Oh, this would be a question for someone that could talk about these things better than me, but
who do you think it is?
I think he's Penix, right? Among all these guys that we've just talked about?
At least in early discussions. I mean, it's not that early. We're mostly through these guys' careers and
it's Williams.
Soon their college football careers.
It's Williams.
It is Caleb Williams, but not by as much as you'd think, and it's not by consensus. People like Drake May as a pro prospect. I won't say as much as the noise for Caleb Williams, but I think I know NFL. There are plenty of NFL teams out there who think of Drake May on equal footing with Caleb Williams. Penix, some of the throws that this dude is making. Now, to be completely honest, now that I'm actually watching him, because, Lucas, I made jokes for years, or not years, but for at least last year about what do you mean Michael Penix, the former Indiana quarterback, is out here dicing up at Washington. And I wasn't watching Washington games. That's a mistake by me. Again, the Shaq meme. I apologize. I was not familiar with your game, especially because you played at Indiana. He's going to be a top 10 pick, Penix. But I think there's stuff in terms of the physical builds of these guys, and they're all well put together. But the arm talent of Williams and May is something that is putting them above Penix discernibly. Penix has a good arm. It's not like but it's not, and none of them you would describe as some of these like Levis, right? Levis is a rocket launcher. Levis is kind of Josh Allen a little bit. A more refined version of rookie Josh Allen. We talked about that earlier in the week. But Caleb Williams and Drake May, I would consider 1A and 1B, and I wouldn't necessarily fault you if you put Drake May over Caleb Williams, because a lot of teams in the league wouldn't. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to get involved. Greg Cosell going to get involved. He's going to give you some analysis on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense and what the Titans on offense are up against next.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. The first injury report of the week came out yesterday as the Titans prepare to travel to Tampa this weekend, a matchup of 3 and 5 teams. Azeez Al-Shire, Daniel Brunskill, Traylon Burks, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Nicholas Petit-Frere did not practice. Tonight, the Nashville Predators finishing out the road trip at the Winnipeg Jets. Puck drop is at 7 p.m. And the Carolina Panthers visit the Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football. 3 wins combined between these two. Kickoff is at 7:15. You can hear the Westwood One coverage right here on The Zone. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour. Welcome in, welcome back. Thanks for hanging out here with us, whether you're listening on FM radio in the F&M Bank chat, your Zone TV app. I guess it's not a Zone TV app. It's a 104.5 The Zone app. Wherever you're listening, we're happy to have you. Speaking of things that I'm happy to have or not happy to have for some reason, Robert Walsh has just walked into the studio holding headsets as if he's going to say something into a microphone during a segment of the programming that he is no longer responsible for the production of. So I don't know what the hell you're doing in here. I don't know why I'm looking at you. I don't know why you're in this studio as opposed to the studio that you belong in. What are you doing in front of me?
What do you mean, what am I doing in front of you, Buck? I have a problem. And in the future, when people think back on my legacy, they're not going to say, Bert didn't stand on business. I'm here to stand on business, Buck. Last week, you instructed Jackson to prepare a 3-minute Kevin Byard highlight video, which was good. Great production on his part. We have a crack staff over here. But what I didn't hear was a Ryan Tannehill montage. And I know Lucas put something together yesterday, but you did not seem too thrilled with it. I think Taylor Lewan coming in here saying, we need to give flowers where flowers are due.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here to do. Ryan Tannehill deserves a montage, and he's going to get it today. Lucas, hit it. My sacrifice.
I don't need you in here singing along.
If that doesn't do it for you, your whistle's not wet, son. You need to do something to fix that. And you might be wondering why I played Creed right there.
I'm not.
Creed, well, I'm so glad you asked, Buck. Creed has had a recent resurgence, but if you think back, everyone told themselves, Creed is terrible. I hate Creed. I dislike Creed. Their music is bland. But now, if you're honest with yourself, it's nothing but bops. And I think when we look back on Ryan Tannehill's legacy, you're not going to remember the Bengals game. You're going to remember my sacrifice with arms wide open into the sunrise.
This Creed's just going to be playing in your head as
Every time I see Ryan Tannehill now, I'm going to hear Creed.
He is Creed.
He is Creed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
How long did that take you to do?
10 minutes. 12 minutes.
Nothing.
He was so excited about this last night on primetime, and I don't know whether we should continue to let you do these bits. Did you think that went well for you?
I enjoyed it. Did it go well for you?
No.
I feel like this is a post-college discussion. Did
Was
you
it-
enjoy that? Was I good?
Was that as good for you?
Except you're the one smoking the cigarette, so you know it wasn't good for anybody else.
Oh, speaking of that, I have a balcony date. I'll see you guys later.
Not yet, you don't. I haven't sent you away. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right.
Hold on.
You can't smoke in here.
No smoking.
Who says?
It didn't go well for me. Do you know why?
What was I missing?
Did you not remember a damn thing from the almost 3 years? You've been here basically since we started the radio show with us before you got promoted, thank God. Did you not remember anything about how we do this radio show? You are in here trying to orchestrate everything like we prepare bits. Who the hell do you think you are?
I like things to hit certain beats. I like things to go well. I just want you to be reminded.
You came in here before the segment started and said, hey, I'm going to let you get settled before I walk in here. Act surprised. What the hell kind of radio production is that?
Didn't want you to be startled.
So we were talking about if 104.5 The Zone put on a musical.
Oh, God.
What would it be?
No,
And I think-
no, we weren't talking about it. Tell him why we were talking about it.
Well, I told him earlier this morning about my dream that 104.5 The Zone put on a musical.
You want to talk about better production? That should have come up in the show prep. That's the actual show prep that we should have done today.
That you wanted to be prepared for.
Yes, I did.
Picking his battles.
Jameson on the F&M Bank chat has the answer. Creed, the musical.
Wow.
Starring Burt Walsh.
I'm down with that. I could be Scott.
Like everybody knows the lead
Nobody
singer.
knows who the lead singer of Creed is. They know Creed. You're paying $200 to see Creed at Ascend, aren't you?
You have to go.
They're
now.
like $300.
Well, he's going to text Cheyenne afterwards and be like, baby, can we go see Creed?
Baby, help me out with that money, girl. See, that's one thing. See, Buck will bring that up. See, Buck is the sugar daddy. He has his own money. He doesn't need someone else to provide for him. I am a lonely radio employee. I need my girlfriend to provide for me. So every night I'm like...
Which is hilarious given your stance perpetually on the opposite sex around here.
I love them, especially when they pay for me to do things and feed me and extend my belly even further.
Oh, God.
But if you hadn't seen the Thanksgiving Creed performance, you need to go watch that.
Yeah.
And
It is electric.
Any music videos they also do. Also electric.
Who is your favorite live performer? Because my Uber driver on the way from the hotel in Pittsburgh to the airport was telling me about apparently Pink is from Philadelphia.
She's incredible.
I had no idea that Pink was from Philadelphia.
She was at Geodis Park in the summer.
Well, and doing all of the high wire acts. Pink has to be closer to 50 than she is to 40 at this point, and she's still flying through the air as if this is Cirque du Soleil. So, like, who is your favorite live act? Because I feel like people are going to cite that Creed performance a lot.
I wish I could go to Drake, but he has canceled on me twice.
In your feelings, perhaps?
I'll give you two. Jimmy Buffett, R.I.P., was incredible.
I agree.
He always knew how to do it. And anytime you got old women in lobster bras, you can't beat that.
Lobster bras.
Oh, yeah, they'd be out there with coconut bras, lobster bras.
See, I just...
What a time to be allergic to shellfish, am I right?
Now seems as good a time, Andy, to send your ass to the shadows. Go!
When you are with me, I'm free.
An all-time.
People are literally watching him on camera not go to the shadows with a cigarette in his mouth, and they got a whole... God,
sacrifice.
Jesus Christ.
As an all-time Burt cameo.
Oh,
Goodness.
he actually got me with the jump scare. That one got me. Idiot. Do you want to have Greg Cosell break down the Bucs defense?
I guess.
We'll do that coming up next. You surprised to learn that Peter Skoronski and apparently the Titans roster is unaware of Will Levis's nickname of Billy Jeans?
Not really. I think we like to think that players are as involved in these social media trends as we are, but no, we're the degenerates that are just over here in our own corner of the world coming up with things like Billy Jeans. Peter Skoronski's Twitter account is on private. Like, I don't think Peter Skoronski is concerning himself with that.
Yeah, I meant to ask him about that. I wonder if that's not just, for your own mental health sake, if you're playing offensive line for the Titans right now and you just want to limit the amount of toxicity that people can send your way, because I did notice that he had switched his account from public to private. But Will Levis, Billy Jeans, whatever you want to call him, Will Damn Levis is apparently Jeffrey Simmons' coin. They should capitalize on that, by the way, as a franchise. Not that I'm handing out marketing opportunities for you, but I think that Will Damn Levis Titans t-shirts would sell quite well. Or our friends at Hang 10, who I saw are doing another pop-up shop this week. No free ads, but cool local brand. Do a lot of Titan. It is a Titans licensed partner, so they do a lot of stuff with the Titans anyway. If the Hang 10 people wanted to make a Will Damn Levis t-shirt, I think there would be a market for it. So, speaking of Will Damn Levis, we did the Greg Cosell podcast yesterday. It's called The Install. You can always watch the full episode on YouTube, the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel. Do it every Wednesday, and it's available to you as an audio product wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we covered a lot of ground, Greg and I, this week, but Levis obviously is going to be the bulk of our study moving forward. And so I just wanted to get Greg's assessment through 2 starts, one exceptional, one less so, but effective, I thought, from Will Levis, to kind of see what Greg was seeing on the tape after watching this back in a much more thorough way. This was Greg Cosell's analysis of Will Levis through 2 starts.
No, and the point is that he's playing behind not a very good O-line.
Yeah.
So when you watch the Steelers tape, you see a lot of muddy, noisy pockets. I thought he functioned very effectively under pressure. He didn't lose his poise, his composure. He didn't lose his clarity. He saw the things. And again, I'm sure, the way things are taught, there were some plays where they say, hey, you should have gone here. Those are things that I don't know. I mean, I know a good amount, obviously, but I don't know specifically how they coach certain things versus certain coverages. And I'm sure there are some cases where they'll work through that. And everything I heard about Levis when I did all my research and in fact, knew some people that were on that staff at Kentucky told me that he's a really smart kid, like really highly intelligent. And, my guess is he's probably pretty accountable. And you've been around him. You know how intense he is. That's what they talk about as well. Some say he's too intense, but you'd rather have that than a guy that's laissez-faire. So, I think that it's the right move and let him grow with the position. Obviously, Hopkins, did he sign a 1 or 2 year deal?
2.
Okay, so he'll be here next year, barring anything unforeseen. And obviously, We've got a whole half of season to play. They've got other young receivers. Brooks will be there. Phillips will be there. Let them grow with these guys. Let them develop a rapport. You have to assume that while there'll be some bad moments, that there'll also be moments where you go, hey, that's kind of working pretty well. And, you want to see that all develop. And they've got young tight ends as well.
We spent a lot of time talking about Levis on that podcast. And if you want to hear how the Steelers took away DeAndre Hopkins in the second half of that game and Greg's evaluation of the difference between Levis's college tape and what we're seeing from him now, because there are some notable differences that Greg does point out. You can go check out the full episode of The Install wherever you get your podcast. You can also hear Greg Cosell on 3HL weeklies on Thursday. So if you're listening later this afternoon, you'll hear Greg there as well. I'm sure he'll be asked several questions about Levis by the crew. He looks like he belongs, Will Levis. And I think if I'm trying to articulate the biggest difference for the audience, beyond what you can tell from watching him between Levis and Willis, Will Levis looks like he belongs at this level immediately. Now, when I say immediately, they're 9 weeks into the season before he hits the field. So it took 9 weeks of practice reps and training camp and film room and working with his coaching staff and scheme, absorption and all these different things before he looked the way that he did against the Falcons. And he wasn't as effective against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he continued to give them a downfield threat, a passing game that was willing to push the ball, that allows them to expand their playbook, that makes Tim Kelly want to take more chances than he might with a quarterback who is less physically talented than Will Levis is. It's a pretty good spot to be in when you think about how much more he can fine-tune these things, if he can fine-tune these things. And that's a question that remains to be answered. Thus far, the returns are promising.
He comes off as very measured.
Levis?
Right? Yeah. Like
at the podium?
The other day at the podium. Because that was a knock on him, wasn't it? Getting 2 up or 2 down. And he alluded to that.
Well, I mean, have you seen some of the clips of him on the field? Like, I can't always see it from the press box, like the yelling and screaming and stuff like that. And not that yelling and screaming makes it sound a little bit more dramatic. I shouldn't be so hyperbolic with that. But like, he is beat red every time you see him. After every completion, after the first Hopkins touchdown, right? He's screaming, he's intense, he's flexing, he's on the bench afterwards when the Jumbotron camera goes to him at Nissan Stadium and the whole stadium lights up and he's like, I don't know what he's saying. I wasn't lip reading at the time, but let's bleep and go.
After every penalty in the Steelers game.
Yeah.
The camera will it's a shot of Levis and he's fired up because the Steelers just gifted him a first down, But he did talk about that the other day on maybe letting his emotions get the best of him and getting too high, getting too low, certainly being too hard on himself at times and working on that. And he came off as very measured at the podium the other day. He came off as a starting quarterback.
Think about the amount of scrutiny that he's already had on him, okay? Because he came out in 2021 looking like a potential first overall pick. And I imagine last season, his final season in college, was pretty humbling for him. And also the draft analysis that followed him, and also being the 2-day subject of everybody's, this year's version of NFL draft soap opera television, where Levis is the guy still in the draft room, his family around him, his girlfriend at the time sitting with him and looking to be comforting him a little bit about the fact that he continues to slide. The Titans try and trade up. They call a couple of different teams. They call Minnesota in particular in the late teens to try and get up there to go get Levis. It doesn't work out. They end up drafting him 33rd overall, but not after Will Levis. Will Levis is almost the entire talking point everywhere on Friday's news cycle because Will Levis didn't go in the first round. So he's been run through the emotional gamut already. And for somebody who is saying, yeah, I do have to find ways to kind of measure myself a little bit by nature of just being a hugely intense and competitive human being. The thing that you can say, I think it's fair criticism before I tell you the stuff that I've been hearing about him here in the last couple of weeks, to say, well, where was this stuff, through the first 8 weeks when Malik Willis was the backup and Will Levis was inactive? And I think that's fair criticism, by the way. But in particular, a lot of people in that organization have, even knowing how intense he was coming in, have been incredibly impressed. Teammates, staffers, coaches around him in the last couple of weeks with the way that he has dug into this thing full bore and has continued to do so, that he would be in a position to succeed when he got an opportunity. Easy stuff to say or to have good vibes around when vibes are high, and vibes are absolutely high around Will Levis right now. He hasn't played a bad game. He has lost a game that was not his fault. He has won a game in which I don't want to say, of course, in football, it's never single-handedly, but he very much was the thing that elevated them to a performance that they absolutely had to have, and their highest scoring total in a football season plus. So as he continues to refine all of this stuff, you'll have criticisms of him. He'll throw interceptions. He'll take sacks you think he shouldn't take. And perhaps he'll have operational penalties that he hasn't had yet to date. But thus far, the returns are very promising. And certainly, as we all watch that, and as the coaching staff watches that, they're finding ways that they can further make this team more competitive because Will Levis is the quarterback of it. So now what's he up against? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a solid defense. Just kind of looking at some of the counting stats, and the NFL provides us with these weekly flip cards, basically, about where every team is prior to their meeting. The Bucs have a good front in particular. They're coming off a really bad performance as a defensive secondary where C.J. Stroud has a historic day as a rookie passer against them. So now as you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as a defense, do you know who leads them in sacks?
Who's that?
Vita Vea, 3.5. They are a defense. Shaq Barrett had his third sack of the season last week and his 20th career forced fumble last week. He's had a forced fumble in 2 of his past 3 games. So they've got him. They've got Vita Vea. Kalijah Kancey, I don't know how much you paid attention to Pitt other than when Tennessee played him last year, Lucas. But Kalijah Kancey was getting Aaron Donald comparisons because
I watched the draft.
Because of the size, because of the university. He's not Aaron Donald, but he's damn good thus far as an interior defensive lineman. He's finding ways to disrupt. Antoine Winfield is a solid safety, and as I mentioned, Carlton Davis is arguably the best corner in football this year.
He needs a bounce back, too. Like, I know people could look at that performance last week and say, yes, and maybe the Titans are catching Carlton Davis in a really tough stretch because he was really bad, but he called that a nightmare performance. He talked a lot about that game where he's getting torched by a rookie in Tank Dell, especially in the fourth quarter. So you could look at it one of 2 ways, that this could start a rough stretch for one of the best corners in the league, or he's very unlikely to have back-to-back weeks like that.
I happen to think it's more the latter than the former, but, this is why these things play out. So we'll find out on Sunday.
Titans are 10-2 against Tampa all time.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
They haven't played since 19, so they skipped over the Brady era.
Right, because the last time they played.
They caught it at a good time. Like they played the Bucs the year before Brady got there, and then they're playing him again the year after he leaves.
Not a bad way to time it. Do you remember that 19 game? That was in the middle of Jameis's 30-30 year.
Oh, was that the Brett Kern fake punt game?
Where they almost got Brett Kern killed by Devin White?
Yeah, I do.
Where Jameis, lost. Well, I don't know if it was more Jameis or Brashad Perryman, the former first-round pick out of Miami, who's been more of a journeyman than he has wide receiver 1 in his career. But Brashad Perryman, they had him running. They had him in motion. Looked like he was supposed to take like one of those quick passes that technically counts as a pass, even though you're just kind of lofting the ball up to him as he runs across your face 2 feet in front of you. They fumbled on that exchange. Titans recovered, were able to close out the win, but it went up to the wire, and Jameis was in full Jameis mode in that particular game. So now this defense has always been good in Tampa under Todd Bowles, and this unit is no different. Greg Cosell analyzed said Buccaneers defense on this week's episode of the podcast.
That could be a little bit of an issue as well, because Vea's kind of a freak. He's so big, but he's got incredibly light feet. And they do a lot of cool stuff with pressures, usually involving White, not David. Usually it's White who's involved in their pressures more. David once in a while. But
Devin White, Levante David, just to specify.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I sometimes I just get on a roll here.
That's okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So Devin White is normally the rusher of the linebackers. But Vea's he's a load inside. Now, last week, as watching the game, as I'm sure you saw, and you have to believe he'll be better because he's a good player. But Carlton Davis had a really bad game, and he's going to have a better game this week because he's a really good player. In fact, I've read where some receivers who played against him say he's the best corner they faced. And, obviously he was not good last week. He knows that. He got burned a lot. He got burned by Dell twice for touchdowns. He got burned on other plays as well. So, he will play better this week. Now, Dean got hurt last week, so I don't know what his status is. The other corner...
We got the first injury report. I'll pull it up just quickly. It literally came out as we were talking here today, or just now. I'm sorry. Continue with your point.
No,
Greg.
go ahead. So I was just going to say that McCollum replaced him at right corner for the rest of the game. So if Dean can't go, I'm assuming it'll be McCollum.
Yeah, Jamel Dean did not practice today with a concussion. Carlton Davis also did not practice today, dealing with a toe situation. You don't know if that's just like
I mean, I would imagine he'll play, but again, I don't know. Toes that's a tough deal sometimes.
So that's Greg Cosell's analysis of the Buccaneers defense, and as we covered, the corner situation, not great for them. Jamel Dean, and we'll see what the injury report bears out today. Should have that about 3 p.m. As he works his way back from a concussion, and then, of course, the status of Carlton Davis, who is on the injury report, but we'll see if that's more, just in principle to get the guy a day of rest on a Wednesday, the way that we see the Titans do with a lot of vets. So 2, 3, and 5 teams. I don't know how, do we feel better about the Bucs trajectory right now at 3 and 5 or the Titans?
Ooh.
Because as we get ready to pivot and pose this question to Titans fans, what do you now want out of this season?
And you're talking about trajectory for 2023 or
I'm just
as a franchise?
Well, I'm looking at,
because as a franchise, it's the Tennessee
Titans because of Levis, for sure. Just because they have at least a viable solution for quarterback moving forward, it would seem. We'll see what bears out over the next 9 games.
And they're still waiting for Todd Bowles to show him something, I think, as the head coach of the Bucs.
So with that being said, what Titans fans want out of the season is kind of curious to me, because I know there's always going to be a contingent that says, well, we should just lose all our games and try and get the best draft pick.
Not anymore. I don't think that's the case anymore.
No, not as a mainstream thought. What I'm saying is there's always going to be a contingent right now, as they sit under 500 and in last place in the AFC South, that says, well, just lose out to get the best draft pick. Well, right now you'd be picking 10th and you feel terrible at 3 and 5. So how much worse are you going to feel when you keep losing games and you don't end up with a top 10 draft pick the way that you thought you might? You're picking 11th and you get another guard or something like that. For me, personally, it is about finding out if Will Levis is functional as a starter beyond this season. And the only way to find out about that is to let him play, which they're doing. So right now, I'm kind of reset to center or reset to factory settings as I was at the beginning of the season, pre-D-Hop, or at the beginning of the offseason, where I said, all right, whatever. What they might do this year, bit of a science experiment. I'm sure they'll be competitive in games because it's in Mike Vrabel's genetic DNA to try and make the most competitive football team possible. But, I have no expectations for them in 2023. I didn't prior to the DeAndre Hopkins signing. I told you guys that changed when they signed D-Hop. Since then, obviously, circumstances have come to pass. They're not nearly as competitive as we thought they might be. And they've made the change at quarterback sooner than we thought they might, because the injury has happened and allowed them an opening to do so. So now it's, again, science experiment, house money, bleep around and find out.
I was on Tighten Up podcast earlier this week with Austin Huff and Jack Gentry, A to Z Sports. Mm-hmm. And they asked me this question, but it was, what do you feel the Titans' ceiling is? And my answer was, around that 500 mark. But Austin, I think his answer to this, and he said, just want to make the graphic. The In the Hunt graphic that you see on game days in the latter part of the season. Just want to be there.
The In the Hunt graphic?
Just want to be there.
The purgatory that is the NFL playoffs?
Just want to see that Fireball logo in the graphic. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, because if you want growth from Levis this year, then you don't want to tank. You can't have both.
No.
Right?
You want to, if you are pro Will Levis as, as the viable starting quarterback for the foreseeable future, you want him to win games. Yes. You don't want them to lose games.
Right. It's a very simple concept. So I think I totally agree with that. Make the graphic. Make it happen.
The graphic is not a bad barometer. Yeah. I like that as an assessment, just to see them, pushing it.
Be at a point late season where you're running through scenarios. Week 15, okay, if the Titans can win here and the Steelers lose to the Chargers or whatever it is, the Titans will hop them here and be that second team on the outside looking in. I think fans have fun with that stuff.
Yeah.
Make the graphic.
I'm laughing in my head, or I'm smiling anyway, thinking about this, because I remember talking about this. Maybe this was after the draft or something like that, where I said, what if they went 7-10 again, but it felt different this time? I I still think that scenario is very, very much in play where 7-10 is not bottoming out.
You would have to go 7-5. Wait. Yeah.
No.
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 What have I done? You're 3-5. To be 7-10, you would have to go 4-5. So you would lose 5 of your next 9. No. Yes. You would lose 5 of your next.
Why can't we do math? Lucas, it's like
17.
You don't
games.
even have to carry a 1 anywhere in there.
Not that hard.
I'm not even making fun of you. I'm exasperated at both of our inability to do simple math on the air.
Man.
There have to be so many people screaming at their radios. What did he just say?
Oh, no. I don't know why I tried. Why did I put myself out there like that?
It's just because you can't avoid numbers. At some point, there is going to be a number in our discussion. We can't run away scared from them every time we see them. Last call for phone call.
Trippin' Titans on the FNM Bank chat says, how do you guys manage to get in the building?
I don't. Most days, somebody has to let me into the building most days because I refuse to bring my key card to work, even though, Lucas, I swear to God, I set it in the same place, right by my back door, leaving for my carport every day, and every day I walk right by the damn thing.
We're here because we want a contest. That's the real answer. But make the graphic.
Make the graphic. Last call for phone calls, 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Sun. Welcome back to the show. Now, a lot of you guys have heard that song, the song that we're listening to right now, unless you're on YouTube, because, of course, copyright issues. Need a Favor by Jelly Roll last night. I know, Lucas, you didn't watch the CMAs, and that's fine. CMAs, I don't know how much local sports fans watch the CMAs just because it's a local thing, and it's right down the street at Bridgestone Arena, and obviously, country music. Having a big night here in Nashville is always something that people make a big deal out of, and, it's always a scene around the CMAs. But I just wanted to say congrats to our buddy Jelly Roll, who won last night the New Artist of the Year, and he opened the show singing Need a Favor with Winona Judd, who I don't know how old Winona Judd is. And I'm not going to sit here and guess a woman's age on the air, but she looked like it was a great performance by her, but she looked like she physically needed to hold on to Jelly to be able to get through the performance. So I wasn't sure what was happening in that situation, but he wins the New Artist of the Year, did it all in front of a packed house at Bridgestone Arena here in his hometown of Nashville. The acceptance speech was the best part. It's sick.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He is one of the most inspirational figures. There's always imperfect messengers for a lot of this stuff, and nobody embodies that better than Jelly Roll. So I just wanted to play his acceptance speech here as we get ready to wrap things up and take some more phone calls. Because we're happy for our friend. We're proud as hell of him, and I know a lot of people are in this city too. What are you looking at me for?
What are you looking at me for?
I want you to play the acceptance speech. I sent you.
I didn't have it.
Oh.
We didn't discuss this.
I literally sent it to the group. I said I want to play Jelly Roll's acceptance speech, and I told you I wanted to play Need a Favor coming back from break. I thought we had this down.
We got one of those.
No wonder Bert wants to script our bits around here more often. This is what happens when we're left to our own devices.
I skip right over most of the things. You did not send it, by the way.
Oh, I didn't? Okay.
No,
it's on YouTube.
It's really good. People should go look it up.
Can you pull it up while I take this phone call?
I do want to hear from Cheeseburger.
Okay. I'll take Cheeseburger's call. You get Jelly Roll's acceptance speech, and we'll try to patch the radio show back together. Cheeseburger's next.
What's going on, Buck? How you doing today?
I'm good, bud.
I'm doing good, too. First off, hey, give a shout-out. How about them Florida State Seminoles? We got a spot in the ACC championship game already. Hey, we got Miami this Saturday. Let's go Noles, baby. And also, I want to hit on Will Levis. I like Will Levis going to start the rest of the season. I'm also a Tannehill fan, too. I like Tannehill. He's good, but I like Will Levis starting the rest of the season. He's got an arm. He's got a cannon. I like the little mayonnaise in his coffee. That works. But I think we're going to have a good rest of the second half of the season. Let's go Titans. Tighten up. Hey, Buck, if you get me on your radio show live in studio in person, we can do a segment called The Cheeseburger and Buck Boom Boom Room. Let's go. Car ain't got no roof. Tighten up. Let's go.
Thanks for the call, Cheeseburger. We appreciate it, bud. Lucas was not there with him for the music because I was asking Lucas to get the Jelly Roll acceptance speech from YouTube instead of from Twitter because the audio quality is just a little bit better from ABC. But it was a really cool moment to see him up there to accept the award. And it's funny before we play this. I saw WKRN has an after party interview series that they do with the artists afterwards. And apparently after his interview with WKRN or before at some point, Jelly Roll accidentally smashed his award. It shattered. There was a picture on I butcher Laura's last name. I think it's Schweitzer that does the local on 2 show on WKRN, but she was back there interviewing artists and had a picture on her Instagram story of Jelly Roll's accidentally smashed New Artist of the Year award from the CMA Awards last night. Can we hear the acceptance speech now?
I only got a second, and I'm going to say a lot, and I'm sorry, but the quickest I can say it is thank you to the label, Stony Creek Management, John Loba, Joe Jamie, you saved my life. Country Radio, what's up, baby? I got 1,000 people to thank you, but most importantly, my Lord and my wife. I love you so much. You changed my life, baby. Megan, Parker, Haley, I love all y'all. We're friends. And Zach Bryan, I think you are one of the hottest things on earth, not just country music. You deserve this as much as anybody else. I love you. I'm glad we're sitting there partying the rest of the night, baby. But most importantly, there is something poetic about a 39-year-old man winning New Artist of the Year. I don't know where you're at in your life or what you're going through, but I want to tell you to keep going, baby. I want to tell you success is on the other side of it. I want to tell you it's going to be okay. I want to tell you that the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason, because what's in front of you is so much more important than what's behind you. Let's party, Nashville!
That was sick. That was so cool for him to do that in front of his hometown. All right, polls, please.
I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. Because the polls have closed and the votes have been tallied, it's time for a poll update. And he's a good boy. Buck Rising show producer and correspondent, Lucas Panzica.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, who sells below MSRP on any non-specialty new Ford. What do Titans fans now want out of the rest of the 2023 season now that Levis is officially QB1? Roy says win games. Charles says I want to see a good plan for protection. Summer says want to see him make the playoffs.
In the hunt. In the hunt. In the hunt.
How will you remember the Ryan Tannehill era with the Tennessee Titans? Tennessee Ed says he made football in Tennessee fun again. He brought the joy of winning back to Nashville. And Brian says best QB we've had since McNair. Not particularly close. Mary Claire says she'll remember it incredibly fondly. Scott says appreciation. Seems like most people are on that same page.
I was really 3 years out of 5 seasons of really, really fun football and an AFC championship game run in there.
Who's the worst?
Go ahead.
Were you not done?
No, I'm done.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, that's it.
Who's the worst football team tonight? Panthers or Bears?
Oh, God, that's what you interrupted me for.
64% say Panthers. 36% say Bears. Poor Al Michaels tonight. Thursday Night Football. By the way, on the Zone, Westwood One coverage. Hope you'll listen. Yeah.
If you don't, we don't blame you.
I don't know the answer to that question. I really don't.
It's hard for me.
Tyson Bagent in at quarterback for Chicago.
It's not even the quarterback situation. Chicago is just bad all over the place. Like Montez Sweat is immediately the best player on that roster, no?
DJ Moore is still a really good football player.
He's a good football player, but without a quarterback, a wide receiver is not capable of doing much unless you're like prime DeAndre Hopkins.
If 104.5 The Zone put on a musical, what would it be? Daryl says Urban Cowboy. Karen says Sweeney Dodd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. Seth says Oliver Twist with Bert as Oliver. Just try to get another bowl of food.
No, that would be Lucas. Lucas's place there may have some more.
I think we both are. We'll share the role. I'll be his understudy.
Those are the polls?
Those are the polls.
Excellent. That's the show. Great job by Lucas. Check out the Peter Skoronski interview. If you missed it in the second hour, Blaine and Mickey got you covered. They're coming up next.